Okay, in this video I want to show you how function calling works using the Assistance API of OpenAI. In reality, function calling is very important, especially if you want to develop and create complex applications, because sometimes, no, usually, depending on the data that was used to train the model is not updated, right? So it doesn't have access to, let's say, for example, the current weather, which is the program that I used to prove this concept. But the point is the model, the GPT or any other model, they don't have access to that data. So how do we allow them? How do we enable this functionality so they can access to this data and we can retrieve live information about anything, or get access to our internal tools that we develop in our program? So the answer to this is function calling. Function calling is very helpful to create this complex program. In reality, what it does is, in your program, as we can see right here, you create a function. So the function that you create in your program is accessible by the large language model, and it retrieves data via arguments. So in this function right here, the current weather, there are multiple functions in this program, but let's focus on this function. In this function, we are using the API. Forget about the API keys. It's like it's random. You cannot hack me using that API key because it's a free plan anyway. So using the API key of the open weather map, we're retrieving data from any location around the world, and the weather of any location of any world. So in reality, we're enabling the large language model to access this data using this API. So in this case, we have two arguments. So these two arguments are accessible and are returned with values after we run the function. The location, which is required because we define the schema, we define the structure. Oh well, we don't define it, but we have to follow the structure of the API request right here, and requesting the JSON data so we can retrieve this information accurately, or well, the large language model. So the way we're doing this is, after running this this function, the large language model will identify when it's necessarily to run this function. It will return two arguments, two values, the location and the units, right? So right here, when we define how the program will behaving, how we configure the arguments that the large language model will receive to answer the user's questions, right here we see that we're receiving a type, a string, right? And this is the location, and we're receiving another value, which is another string, which is the unit. In reality, the location is required, just that value. So if we run the program, we'll see how it works. Okay. Should I forget the comment? So right here we're creating the assistant, or we're loading an existing assistant. I will post the code on GitHub so you guys can access, you guys can see how it works. So we're live chatting with the program. So we want to ask what is the actual weather in Paris. Okay, so what is the weather in Paris? Of course, the GPT, if you go to ChatGPT or if you go to cloud, they don't have access to this data, right? Because it's live data. So we received the current weather. So we just need to verify, because sometimes they hallucinate, and my AI programs, they don't hallucinate, of course not. So current weather in Paris. We can verify that it's 55 Fahrenheit. Let's translate into Celsius, 13. Okay, it's accurate. What's in reality happening right here is, a lot of people get confused because it's running the function. Yeah, it's actually running code, but the code will receive a value. The function will return a value, and that value is used by the large language model, storing a variable using crazy math and that kind of stuff. and will return the answer in the chat, as we can see right here. So you can also turn this program into a web application using Flask or using any other framework if you prefer JavaScript. The takeaway right here is, by implementing function calling in your AI programs, you are opening a whole new world of a very complex large language models, and this is the closest thing that we have right now to AI agents. You can use AI and these different frameworks, but understanding function calling will give you the skill set to create these complex programs, because this API can communicate to another API and you're just limited by your imagination. So learn function calling. This is a quick overview of how function calling works, and just learn how to use it. You can also use Llama. In this case, I use the OpenAI Assistance API because I think it's easier, but just learn how to use function calling and you'll see that you create incredible programs in more complex large language model and powerful chatbots.